The two technologies which came together to make a big difference and develop these amusement parks was the advent of electric power generation and the proliferation of interurban railroads, or streetcars we'd call them, or trolley cars. And in the Kanawha Valley, we followed suit with pretty much every other city and town in the nation. Starting in the late 1800s, Charleston developed a streetcar system, first powered by horse-driven buses or cars on tracks, because you can get a lot more traction pulling a lot of weight on a track. And we had streetcar lines that ran through downtown and then fanned out to the surrounding area. The first railroad bridge across the Elk River, it is a combination wrought and cast iron bridge, which is very significant. And that brought the first streetcars to the west side of Charleston before 1900. That too plays a very important role in moving people around the city and getting commuters into downtown, where most people worked, either at the state capitol in state government, or the county courthouse, city hall, or in any of the dozens or hundreds of businesses in town.
There was a big movement in the early 1900s that kind of went along with the development of streetcars to build amusement parks. Part of it was just the technology and the increase in population, so there was a demand for it. The owners of the streetcar lines wanted people to ride the streetcars, so they needed incentives for them to get on there and go places. So you have an amusement park at the top of Edgewood Drive, where the streetcar line ran in like 1907. And for the west side, it was the development of the railroad bridge that still stands. The reason it was built was to connect the railroads on the two sides of the river. Because like before, they did not connect. But when they built this, when they built the railroad, they also built a streetcar line on the side of it. So that bridge is very significant to the west side, because not only did it help lead to the development of things like Luna Park and the west side, but it also helped lead to the development of South Charleston. And that streetcar line was the link.
Before World War I, a person could ride a streetcar essentially from Nitro on the Putnam County line to the Fayette County line, to Paint Creek, Cabin Creek, almost to Montgomery. And the Luna Park site was on a streetcar, not the main line, but there was a small spur line that came out on Park Avenue and let passengers off to come frequent the park. The companies that owned these interurban rail lines, which in time became electrified, were utility companies. And almost always the power generation was done locally. So using coal power or water power in some cases, whatever, and then sent the electricity out on the very localized grid. The companies would provide most of that electricity, which they then sold to the consumers, during the week when businesses were open, when stores were open. One of the reasons that these utility companies and streetcar companies got into amusement park business is it boosted their ridership on the weekends and during off hours. It also provided an outlet for their constantly generated power. The power would constantly run through the grid, so if you hook a streetcar up and an amusement park that requires a heavy load of electricity, it's a perfect combination to make money and draw people and get riders for your streetcar line. Camden Park in Huntington, which is still open, one of the last of the old-time parks anywhere in the U.S., that too was on the streetcar line. And typically these parks are at the end of the line, and the excess power would be sent there to power the rides and so on and so forth.
And that was kind of the main purpose, is that people, the owners of these streetcar lines and railroads wanted people riding the rails. And amusement parks were a great draw for that. I mean, they drew thousands on events like 4th of July.